only her ears visible above it. Far overhead, a bearded vulture wavered in its flight, tipping on one wing and turned in a wide circle. The eland raised his head, swallowing, glanced round, water dripping from his lips, spattered into the stream. He shivered the flies from his back, bent to drink, raised his head, water rumbling in his belly. He turned and scanned the slope behind and above him. This was where he descended, and now the wind was in his face, and there was still no danger smell. His legs felt stronger. He licked his lower lip that already seemed less rough from the water filling his body. He trotted back through the thorn scrub, past the fallen down palm, bolting at the sudden yellow flash of terror that impaled him on its fierce claws, the lioness's wide jaws crushing his neck as he screamed, crashing through the bush. With one paw, the lioness slapped him to the ground, but he lurched up and she smashed him down again, her fangs ripping his throat, choking off the air as his hooves slashed wildly, and the horror of it he knew now and understood. Dust clouding his eye, the other torn by thorns. The flailing of his feet slackened as the sky went red. The lioness's hard body embracing him, the world and all he'd ever known, sliding into darkness. The lioness sighed and dropped her head, the stony soil hurting her jaw. After a few moments, she began to lick the blood seeping from the eland's throat and mouth, and the shoulder where her claws had torn it. Then turned and licked her left rear leg, where one of the eland's hooves had made a deep gash. Settling herself more comfortably among the thorn bushes, she stripped back the skin along the eland's shoulder, licking and gnawing at the blood and warm flesh beneath. Crackling in the brush made her lay back her ears. She rumbled softly deep in her throat. Heavy footsteps splashed through the stream, and she growled louder, her rope tail switching. The male lion came up to the eland, lifted his lip and snarled. Still growling, she backed away slightly, lowering her head to grip the eland's foreleg. The male sniffed the eland's shoulder, crouched, ears back, and began to chew it. Then, gripping the shoulder in his jaw, he dragged the animal sideways, the lioness crawling after it, still holding the leg. Baring his teeth, the male leaned across the eland's shoulder, bit down on the foreleg, and pulled the eland over to get at its belly and flanks. Carefully, the lioness edged round the carcass, reaching tentatively for a rear leg. With a roar, the male flicked out a huge, flat paw that caught the side of her head. Her neck snapped loudly, and the lioness tumbled back into the thorn brush, one rear paw trembling briefly. The Samburu warrior rose from his hiding place among the rocks high up the slope, stretched his stiff legs, and picked up his spear. From the shade, he watched the lion's thick, black-maned head burrow into the eland's belly. Since dawn, when the Samburu had begun watching the two lions, the young male and old female, they had mated nearly 3 times 10. But now he had killed her, giving the Samburu a possible solution to the problem that had been bothering him all day. 2. The Samburu warrior climbed to the ridge, keeping out of sight of the lion a half-mile below, his bare, thick-soled feet soundless on the ravelled, stony earth, his goatskin cloak soundless against his slender limbs. Once over the ridge, he broke into a run down a long, wide valley with a lager, a dry, sandy stream bed, against a line of umber cliffs bloodied by the afternoon sun. Where the cliffs became a scrubby talus slope, he ascended to a large, spindly desert rosebush with red flowers. He waited till he'd caught his breath, unsheathed his simmy, and began to draw its blade up and down the head of his spear, till both edges glittered and easily shaved the few hairs on the back of his wrist. He sheathed the simmy and knelt beside the desert rose, cut a downward slash in its stem with his spear, and waited. Soon, a bubble of white sap had collected on the slash. He fitted together the two halves of his spear, thunking the shaft against the earth to seat the top section firmly in the steel haft of the lower one. Then, very carefully, he drew both edges and the tip of the spearhead along the bubble of sap. He went back down the slope, careful not to touch the spearhead against the brush or bring it near himself. A gerenuk, standing on hind legs to munch at the twigs of an umbrella acacia, dropped to all fours and scampered away, halting to look back over her shoulder, but the Samburu ignored her. He reached the lager and turned north, walking fast but not running, stepping once over the groove in the sand.